What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
It is a shame to hear the Prime Minister of Quebec sharing things and declarations on immigration that he simply knows are not true. I asked Mr. Legault to give us a plan, his plan, particularly on temporary foreign workers here in Quebec, and many, many months later, we are still waiting to see what his plan is for his responsibilities.
Okay, that's Justin Trudeau calling out François Legault, who the day before had called out Justin Trudeau for doing nothing. Now he says he's the one that... Well, hold on. James Mennie is standing by for the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, that's flat out calling him a liar in a sense, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I was expecting to see the next clip would be Legault going, "You call me a liar?" Yeah, but that's exactly what it is. When you say that, when you accuse a politician of saying things that he knows aren't true about immigration, he's lying about immigration. But the fact is, this is all part and parcel of the feud between Ottawa and Quebec. Like, there are no good guys in this story. Don't turn around and think, just poor Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau has made an absolute mess of immigration policy in this country. And the fact that a populist sort of like François Legault can piggyback onto that and tell the nation that they're endangered by this unbridled immigration, he doesn't sound like a complete kook. He doesn't sound like a complete xenophobe. But the fact is, this was when you plan immigration policy based on your whatever tweet pops into your head on any given day, Aaron, you're going to have problems. That's exactly what's been happening now. And now, as his party is about to topple over, it's burst into flames, and the wreckage of the federal Liberals are about to go crashing into the seas going, well, gee, maybe we should do something about immigration. Let me talk to the premiers about this. It may be a wee bit late for that, and which is like, that's fine too. The priority, as I say, should be to help the people who are here now, give them the work permits, give them the services, and it's nothing more than bureaucratic BS that's slowing all this down. You've had immigration lawyers on this show dozens of times who have said, the people are ready to work. These people have come here, they have skills, whatever, but only now are the Trudeau Liberals turning around saying, whoa, we're going to have a job bank. Letting people know about it. It's like, for God's sake, this has been going on for 3 years. And you gave François Legault legitimate ammunition. Is he stretching the story a bit? Of course he is. He's making it sound like, Quebec is under attack, and this is the number one issue for the next federal election. He's trying to pull the spotlight onto himself. But as I say, in the end, he knows as well. If he turned around and just said, listen, why doesn't this guy do his job? Why doesn't this guy help us out as opposed? But this is not how François Legault operates. He operates by confrontation. He operates by symbolic, bickering, feuding. I suppose you heard about how the CAC contingent of MNAs and cabinet ministers did not show up at the official dinner for President Macron because, it's a federal gig and we're not talking to, the Quebec Nation is not talking to the federal government at the moment. I mean, it's this kind of petty garbage that's slowing everything down. But the fact of the matter is, and yes, immigration is a huge issue in this country. But when you look at the two sides of the argument, I despair for the future of the whole issue. And I mean, there's a lot of people working in the milieu who will tell you things are going to get a whole lot worse simply because nobody seems to want to do their job.
I wonder, Jim, in this whole situation, so François Legault calling out PSPP to call out Yves-François Blanchet, whatever, and then I don't know if you happen to hear him this morning. I'm going to play this back after 5:30. Yves-François Blanchet was on with Elias, and on that question about why are you not including immigration the way the Premier is asking you to, his answer was pretty direct, right? He said, if we do, it's not going to fly anyway. Yeah,
and it was played during the news, and I got to tell you, at least, and here you go. I'm not a fan of the Bloc Québécois, but at least the Bloc Québécois is giving you the straight information. Yeah. And this is a bargaining chip, and that's all there is to it. And when he turns around and tells François Legault, I'm not a cat kiss, I don't work for you, and I don't work for the Liberals. I mean, to a certain extent, he seems to be the adult in the room. God help me for saying that, but it's true. But in the meantime, we're literally talking about hundreds of thousands of people whose lives are on hold, whose futures are extremely uncertain. Yes, I know they're leaving much worse behind, but that doesn't make it right. You don't invite someone into your home, and once they're there and they've unpacked all their their suitcases. You say, oh, by the way, I don't have any place for you to stay. But that's what's happening in this country, and there's plenty of blame to go around. But I just wish they would stop grandstanding and behave like adults and get this issue settled. And it's not an election issue; it's a governance issue. So, goddamn it, do your job, boys.
I just in the back of my mind can't help but think that, you know what, this is really all about that $250 million short from what they got from the feds. They were asking for $1 billion. Give me the money, and he'll move on and talk about something else. At least that's what I think. But I don't know.
You're 1,000% right. When it always comes down to the money. It always comes down. It's like it's a power thing. You know, I want my money. You know, ever since back in the day when Robert Baratheon used to go, "Where's my booty? Give me my booty. Where's booty? Where's my loot from the feds?" That's been the relationship between Quebec and Ottawa. Unfortunately, it's still going on. But as I say, there are a lot of bystanders involved this time.
All right, let me move on and talk about that word we, of course, I think attribute to the last time the Liberals won an election and then lost an election here provincially. That word is austerity. We know just how deep in the hole this government is, right? Record deficit. Are we starting to hear this word?
Well, like I say, you know, it's a dirty word in Quebec politics, and the Legault government is about to talk dirty. It's already started talking dirty because, as you may have seen, as Radio Canada reported today, that the Deputy Minister of Health has sent out a memo to all regional health authority CEOs saying you have got to cut your budgets. No, it won't have anything to do with services, but it just has to deal with the bureaucracy. You've really got to cut back. We're looking at $1 billion deficit. This is unacceptable. And he said, well, isn't that marvelous? They finally seen the light. But in an amazing coincidence, Aaron, I don't know if you saw that this afternoon, the press is reporting that the health authority whose jurisdiction covers Notre Dame Hospital and Verdun Hospital has decided to very unilaterally kill 2 contracts it holds with a private clinic in Viscount in Rossard. This is a surgery clinic that was conducting 150 operations a day, knee replacements, hip replacements, cataracts. In other words, the very surgeries that have been slowing down, swamping Quebec's healthcare system since I started at the Gazette more than 4 decades ago, and I've been doing this story. And they turned around and said, well, you know, we find your rates a bit high, so that's why we're going to cancel it. So please don't tell me, you know, any bureaucrat, your boss tells you to cut, you're not going to, you just look at the number, okay, this is what's the quickest way for me to cut and look good and get a pat on the head and maybe get a bonus by the end of the year, who knows. But all that said, this bureaucracy, this self-supporting bureaucracy really seems to be given a warrant to turn around and cut. It's not a liberal thing. The PECs have been known to do it in the past as well. So, but why in God's name do they always go after health? I know you'll say, well, it's the single largest, you know, it's the biggest second item we have in our budget. Fine. It also keeps people alive. Yeah. And guess what? People in Quebec are getting older exponentially. So, you know, this is the last place on earth where you want to cut. You should be looking for rationalization. But then again, was it only this week, Aaron, that I was telling you that TVA put Legault on the map for noting that since 2018, since he campaigned on reducing the civil service, he's added 10,000 civil servants to the bureaucracy?
Yeah. Kind of, it doesn't at the end of the day, Jim, make sense. And people keep saying, you know, government's getting too big, and it's the last thing government seems to be ready to cut anything on. It just doesn't make sense. You know, and
this is what I find infuriating, because Trudeau's just as bad.
Yeah.
But these are a couple of posers who like to spout off. Trudeau's got his little Zen tweets about what a wonderful world this would be. Legault is freaking everybody out, saying, you know, the sky is falling, we're surrounded, we're being invaded by people who aren't like us, our identity is in danger. And the reason we hired these clowns in the first place to do their jobs is not being done. It is every single day we have examples of it not being done, and we talk about it. And yet, for some reason, that is the last thing that people seem to get angry about, unless, of course, you get tangled up in the healthcare system. And I'm sure there are a few of our listeners out there right now who are probably nodding their heads in agreement.
Real quick, I want to get to what I'm going to ask in a sec, but I want you to comment. Raymond Thibert is the official languages commissioner coming out, and basically this kind of came out of nowhere, Jim. I think we have him on the show on Monday, but talking about the fact that, hey, Anglos, you know, you should keep complaining. You should let the provincial government know that, you know, cutting services is not the right way to go. What was the need for this?
Well, I just find it odd because I found out, I didn't know he was going to be on the show on Monday, but I mentioned to Dean, our mutual producer, that when you have him on the show, maybe you want to ask him how comfortable he is telling Anglos to fight for their school system and push back on Bill 96, when Bill 96 represents half the preamble of the Official Languages Act in this in this country. I know it's not him. I know he's just there to enforce the Official Languages Act. But how can he be comfortable telling Anglos into Quebec to push back when, in fact, this federal government turns around and injected Bill 96 into the preamble of the Official Languages Act? French is the official language of Quebec. I mean, what else is there to say? You've put it in there, so guess what? It's going to be very difficult to try and work around that or get compromised. So on the one hand, I guess I'm happy that the Commissioner of Official Languages is telling Anglo-Quebecers and patting us on the head, praising us for our resilience. But on the other, the very federal statute that he is employed to enforce has actually been, how can I put it? It's had Bill 96 grafted into it so clumsily and brutally that Anthony Housefather nearly he nearly got out of the caucus, the Liberal caucus, and the other, I just can't think of, Mark Garneau was the only other MP who stood up. But the opprobrium that move caused when it took place in Montreal with the very people who are being told, good work, stay resilient, I recall was very, very bitter, and we're still feeling the effect.
Although I think he tried to cover his backside by saying when it gets to the Supreme Court, the federal government will be there, right?
Oh yeah, I'm. It's like I'm waiting for Santa Claus. I can't even sleep.
Jim, I got to go. I'm asking people today just to gripe. Thing that bothers you most this week of all the news stories. What bothered you the most?
On the one hand, I just wish for once I'd be able to come on the show and say, damn it, we don't have that much to talk about. But it just gets worse and worse. You remember there used to be low? And now the news is so stupid. Here in the Magic Kingdom, it's like there's something every other damn day. And if it doesn't happen here, then something stupid happens in Ottawa. We should be happy. It gives us stuff to talk about. It gives us stuff to trade and share with the listeners. But for crying out loud, can we at least have 1 week of normal out of 52?
Yeah, like a week where we can simply say the sun is shining and that's the big story of the week. Okay. Jim, have a great weekend.
You too, buddy.